What scary cult still exists today? Heaven's Gate, https://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/heaven_gate_left parenthesis religious_group, is technically still around in some capacity. Their website, https://www.heavensgate.com, is believed to be maintained by some remaining survivors and is a total trip. Aum Shinrikyo, the Japanese doomsday cult behind the 1995 Tokyo sarin attack, are technically still around. It rebranded and split into two cults called Aleph and Hikari no Wa respectively. In 2019, a member of Aleph rammed his car through a New Year's celebration in response to then recent execution of the former top leaders of Aum Shinrikyo/Aleph. Then you have the Unification Church, a religious movement derived from Christianity that has a weird amount of connections to the Japanese government. The assassination of Shinzo Abe was actually a result of a former member's son seeking revenge after his mother had wasted all of their wealth on the UC. Japan passed laws against the UC as a result, but whether or not they actually work is yet to be seen. The Yellow Delhi. Scientology. JMS, Providence, Church. The leader was a serial rapist to hundreds of his followers, went to prison in 2008, but it still exists as a religion. A cult in every meaning of the word. Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Herbalife. Not technically a cult but a pyramid scheme. I know some people who worked for them, they got their heads totally unscrewed. Jehovah's Witnesses. They rip families apart, separate children from parents and vice versa, all in the name of godliness, keep you poor, encourage abuses of all kinds. FLDS Westboro Baptist Church. Scientology. The cult of Kim Il-sung/Kim Jong-il/Kim Jong-un. And lots more. Scientology, Jehovah's Witnesses, IBLP. KKK is still active. JWS. Scientology. Any sort of super church. It's in the name of Jesus, but if he were here, he'd tear these walls down faster than Babylon. Amway. Any multi-level marketing, MLM, system. Oh, and Stanley Cup collectors. I look forward to seeing a flood of cheap cups on eBay in 6 months' time. Oh. Falun Gong aka Falun Dafa. They're a far-right racist Chinese supremacist cult that believes in Tai Chi and Qigong and only using traditional Chinese medicine. They believe in racial segregation and only hate communism because it wasn't made up by Chinese people but comes from Marx. They believe that if their leader puts his hands on your belly you'll be able to fly. Shen Yun is their dance troupe. Wahhabism. Scientology for one. Still selling their Xena BS. Also the Spanish Inquisition, nobody expected that, I bet. Their modern incarnation is Opus Dei, who aren't just a Dan Brown thing. They're a hardcore fundamentalist Roman Catholic group. They scare the bejesus out of me. The fucking Leafs. Mediocre at best with insane ticket prices and merch. They have no chances of winning, but every winter their throngs show up. There are people who believe that when the Jewish people reclaim Jerusalem, it will trigger the second coming of Christ, otherwise known as the rapture. What they don't focus on is the horrors that await those who are not immediately taken up to heaven. The people that believe this are in politics and are pushing the world towards this ending as they genuinely believe they will be spared. But they do not care about the suffering inflicted on those left behind. Jehovah's Witnesses. Mega. The Twin Flame Universe. https://udo.be/vepkiq4_q2k?SI=LG4RevXFL7R481T1. The most important and prevalent one within the US government, Amway. Scientology. Fuck them. They kidnapped and brainwashed my college roommate and best friend. She eventually got out 3 years later and they ruined her credit for the next 7 years. After 10 years they tried to ruin her credit again, but she was able to prove she hadn't been involved with them for 10 years. Fuck Scientology and everybody in it. Jen from Fundy Fridays, https://youtube.com/@fundie-si=FLQYZOEJ6KQ35T, covers a lot of fundamentalist Christian cults. I believe she has a Reddit account, but I'm unsure what her handle is. Some of the cults she has covered has already been mentioned, some have not. One of her subjects that she has covered but I don't see mentioned is IBLP, https://en.m.wikipediaorg/wiki/institute_in_basic_life_principles, or Institution of Basic Life Principles. It essentially creates the father as a head of a mini-cult. Bill Gothard, https://en.m.wikipedia.org/wiki/bill_Gothard, founded it and had a lawsuit for sexual harassment. If you heard of the Duggars or the Bates, you were introduced to this cult. Scientology. Any that belongs to jihad. Bethel. Nazis, it's a cult. Evangelicals. Populism and every authoritarian regime still around. People seem to forget that there is evidence that pretty much almost every authoritarian regime, from Roman emperors to theocracies to Marxist-Leninist dictatorships, are all built on cults of personality that allow leaders to be in charge even if most people don't like them, with some coming into being even if only 4% the population like them, and a lot of the populists who want to bring back fascism or religious fundamentalism basically have a cult that fuels them. Jehovah's Witnesses. Jehovah's Witnesses LOL. Jehovah's Witnesses. The LDS Church. Scientology. The LDS Church used to include vows to disembowel themselves and cut their own throats if they revealed the secrets of the temple, or secret handshakes to get into heaven. Trigger warning, they also used to torture homosexuals with porn, drugs, and electrocution, including minors, according to this documentary, https://youtube.be/bigqs20jhw0?si=sign K6lu-DNFDNTSD7. Women used to not be allowed in the temples until they were getting married, and their breasts touched by some old man to be blessed to give suck and their genitals blessed to bring forth. Plus they used to teach having anything but white skin was a punishment and mark of Cain, and didn't allow blacks in their priesthood until the 1970s, with a revelation that was very conveniently timed to the civil rights era and their desired expansion into Africa. They still don't allow women in their priesthood. Supposedly women don't need it because they can have children. Never mind the women with infertility issues or after menopause. They try to police what members think, their sexuality, clothes, facial hair, haircuts, use of time, use of money, food and drink, media consumed, and they have old men who don't have to pass background checks asking young girls if they masturbate. They discourage any outside sources, push the Book of Mormon all the time, and try to control and directly influence the state and federal governments. They also hid their hundreds of billions of dollars. They'll also ignore this post as being from the devil. Scientology and Jehovah's Witness may not be considered cults by some, but absolutely should be. While not the be-all end-all of cult recognition, they both score highly on the BITE model. They label people that have left their organization suppressive, subversive, and apostate. At best, you're cut off from your family and friends. You may have to spend some time in a re-education camp if you get out of line. These organizations are a lot scarier than some dude with a few hundred followers. They're organized, they are well funded, and they have no shortage of militant zealots within their ranks.